We're staying in our drawing more objects.dwg file, and as you can see, I've left the drawing in the same state as it was at the end of the last video when we looked at the rectangles and the polygons. What we're going to do now is just do a zoom extent, so you can just double click on the wheel of your mouse and that'll zoom you out to the extents of the visible drawn objects. So you can now clearly see the rectangle and the hexagon that you've drawn for the rectangles and polygons part of this chapter. What we're going to look at now are points and donuts. Now, when I say donuts, that doesn't refer to any of these well-known coffee brands out there and things. It's actually a geometrical shape that you can draw within AutoCAD itself. And donuts are fantastic for setting out points on drawing plans, and you'll see that in a moment. Now, just before we do that, what we need to do is create a new layer. So we're going to go back to our layer properties in the layers panel in the home tab on the ribbon. And we're going to click on new layer again. And this is going to be A for architecture and then a dash and then setting out. Now you'll notice there is already an A serve setting out layer. Ignore that for the moment. That one is actually switched off at the moment and we're going to ignore it. We're going to create our own new layer and we're just going to call it A-setting out, like so. And we're going to give it a good color. We want it to be nice and bright to stand out on the drawing itself. So click on the color box and maybe go for something like a pinky magenta-y type color so it's different from everything else on the drawing. So I'm going to go for color 211 there and click on OK. And as usual, double click next to it to make it the current drafting layer and then close the Layer Properties Manager. Now, when you're working in AutoCAD, you can actually draw physical points and use them as points of reference. And the object snap for them is called node, N-O-D-E. Now, what we're going to do with our points is we're going to create a nice curved line coming off the corner here of the reception area. And we're going to take it out here, and it's going to form part of the refectory area of this particular building in the plan view. So we're going to draw those points on the A setting out layer that we've just created. Now, before we do that, we need to set a point style. So in your Home tab on the ribbon, go to your Utilities panel, and you'll see there point style ... When you click on it, it'll open up the point style dialog box. Now, by default, the point style is highlighted in black there, and it's a tiny little dot. And you won't see that if you place it on a line or an existing object. What I always do is use this one. Now, the reason I use this one is it looks the same as the node object snap. So it's a good little memory aid. It reminds you of what those objects are in your AutoCAD drawing. Now, point size, how does that work? Well, at the moment, I've got it 5% of the size relative to the screen. So no matter how much I zoom in or out, it'll always be 5% of the screen size. If you set your size in absolute units like that, when you zoom in and zoom out, they're going to get bigger and smaller. And sometimes you won't be able to see them if you're zoomed out a long, long way. So it's always better to use set size relative to screen. So I'll OK that now, and my style is now set. So what I'm going to do is zoom in on this area here. Now, I could zoom in on the reception. We do have a view there, so I can click on top there, custom views, there's reception there, and it zooms me into that reception area. And I want to come off this corner here. To draw the points, they're on the draw panel. So I'll click on the fly out and just pin it open. And you'll notice that there's all these different elements here that I can use. So I've got ray, multiple points, I've got divide and so on. Which one is it? Well, it's going to be this one, multiple points. It's the point command that you want. Now, the point command is a bit of a weird one, and I'll show you in a moment. Click on it first and come into the drawing area, and it prompts you to specify a point. So utilizing your object snaps, I'm going to go to the corner there. There's the endpoint snap, and I click, and there's my point there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create some sort of control points, which I might use for a spline later. So if I come out to there, and then I've got a nice kind of curved wall like so that closes off the refectory area so that when people come into the building, they have to go round it to kind of get into the refectory area. It's like a separating wall. Now, you would have thought that if I press enter, that would close the command. It doesn't. It's one of the only commands in AutoCAD where you've got to press escape to actually close out the command. So we've now got our nice wall there ready to go. And what I can do now is I can utilize the spline command and the node snap to create a nice curved wall. So go down to your object snaps and just make sure that your node snap is on, that one there. And then obviously click on the little arrow there to close the menu. And I'm going to use a spline here that is the fit points, that one there, spline fit. And now, when I hover over each of these, can you see the node snap kicks in? And that's those points, like so. So I'll just come in like so, get to that point there, click there, and I'll do an enter to finish. And there we are, all done. There's my nice curved wall. Now that's on the setting out layer at the moment, so I'll select that. And what I'll do is I'll put that on the internal wall layer, the eye wall layer, like so, and just hit escape to deselect. And the best thing I can do now is set the eye wall layer to the current layer, and then go back to the layer drop down, and my setting out points, my A setting out, I can freeze that now. And you'll notice that the points disappear, and I've got my nice curved wall separating the refectory area from the main reception area. And that's how quick and easy those points are to use. Now what I am going to do is put my setting out layer back on. So I'm going to come to A setting out and just click here and thaw that out again like so. Now you will be able to see your points, but what I'm also going to do is hit escape to lose the layer drop down, zoom out a little bit and pan across to the end of this grid line here. Make sure that A setting out is your current layer. So I'll set that up like so. And then I'm going to type the word donut, and it is the American spelling, which is D-O-N-U-T, not the English spelling, which is D-O-U-G-H-N-U-T. So donut like that, and press enter. It asks for the inside diameter of the donut. The default there is 250 because I've drawn a donut previously. So just make sure you put 250 in if it's not that, and press enter. Outside diameter of my donut, I want it to be 500. So again, put 500 in just to make sure it is 500 and press enter. There's my donut. I'm going to put it on the end point of the grid line as a setting out point. Enter to finish. And you can see there that highlights that setting out point nice and brightly in that nice pinky purple color of the A setting out layer. So you can see those donuts are really useful for highlighting points that you might need to work with when you're setting out your AutoCAD drawings.